Hello students, I hope you all are doing fine. Today, let us start the discussion on format of statement of profit and loss of companies. Dear students, you have learned the final account of sole proprietorship and partnership. There, we used to prepare the accounts in T-shaped form. That is, we call the account format. But when we say the final account of companies, they are not prepared in account format, but they are prepared in the vertical format. That means statement form, not in debit and credit form. They are prepared in statement form and we call it vertical form. So today I am going to show you the format of statement of profit and loss as given in the Schedule 3 of Companies Act. Before showing you the format, I would like to tell you that prior to Companies Act 2013, we were following Schedule 6 of Companies Act. But now, after the introduction of Companies Act 2013, the Schedule 3 is followed. In Schedule 3, the guidelines for preparation and presentation of financial statements is given. And especially in Part 2 of Schedule 3, we get the format of statement of profit and loss. In Part 1, what is given? The format of balance sheet is given. And format of statement of profit and loss is given in Part 2 of Schedule 3. So, with this note, I would like to start the discussion on the format of statement of profit and loss. For that, let me share a file with you. Okay. So I haven't prepared a PowerPoint presentation today because in PowerPoint it will be difficult to adjust the format. So I have restricted to this. So as I told you, Schedule 3 of Companies Act gives us the guidelines for preparation of statement of profit and loss. And in Part 2 of Schedule 3, we have the detailed guidelines regarding the statement of profit and loss. For in Schedule 3, not only statement of profit and loss, balance sheet, profit and loss, everything is given. But in Part 2, especially statement of profit and loss. So see here, this is the beginning of the Part 2 of profit and loss statement. This is the way we write the heading. We can call it statement of profit and loss. We can also call it profit and loss statement. Then we write the name of the company and the period for which we are preparing profit and loss. So we write profit and loss statement for the year ended. Say if we are preparing for the year that ended on 31st March 2021, then we will write here for the year ended 31st March 2021, which will pertain to the period 1st April 2020 to 31st March 2021. So profit and loss statement to ami Companies Act Schedule 3 mote banao aru Schedule 3 Part 2 বিশেষকে statement of profit and loss or কথাখিনি লেখা আছে, format খিনি দিয়া আছে. Part 1 or balance sheet or বিষয়ে দিয়া আছে. তে Part 2 মতে format টো কেনেকুৱা হ'ব লাগে হেতু দেখুৱাম আৰু পাৰিলে এটা কি item মই discuss কৰি যাম. So schedule মতে আমি কেনেকুৱা বনাব লাগিব vertical formatত, তাৰ মানে statement formatত, account formatত বনাব নোৱাৰি. T shape যেটো debit credit system টো শিকিছিলো, partnership বা sole proprietorship final account হেতু ইয়াতে আমি ইউজ কৰিব নোৱাৰো সেই মেথডটো ইয়াতে আমি statement formatত আৰু পুৰা ফৰ্ম মতে যাব লাগিব. যিকোনো আইটেম যিকোনো ঠাইত লিখি দিলো তেনেকুৱা নচলে. কোনটো আইটেমৰ পিছত কোনটো আইটেম আহিব এটো তোমালোকে লক্ষ্য ৰাখিব লাগিব. Which item will come after another, you will have to follow exactly what is given in the format prescribed by Schedule 3 Part 2 of Companies Act. Okay, so you have to remember the format. I'm not wrong in saying that you have to memorize the format so that you place the items properly. So the first thing is, in the statement you will write the particulars, then there is a column for note number. What is this? Because after preparing statement of profit and loss, you will also have to prepare some notes to accounts. In that notes, you will be giving the details of the item. For example, the first item is revenue from operation. Here you will write the total figure. You will write the total figure, the amount, the total amount after adding all the items of revenue from operation. So the details of items will be given in notes to accounts. And so the note number has to be mentioned here for reference. Then figures as at the end of current reporting period, and one amount column is for figures as at the end of the previous reporting period. That means you have to give the figures for last year along with the current reporting period. So if you are preparing for 31st March 2021, in this column you will write the figures for the year 2021, and in this column you will write the figures for the year 1920. Okay, so this has been made compulsory as according to the Companies Act 2013. Previously also this was required, both columns. Okay, now the first item is number 1. Let me tell you one thing. In the statement of profit and loss, there are totally 16 items. You see, it is the long one. There are totally 16 items. So you try to understand all the items one by one. The first item is revenue from operations. Gross. That means the total revenue from operations without deducting anything, any tax or anything. So revenue, when we say revenue, basically the revenue is from sale of goods or sale of services or revenue from any other operating activities. Okay. So for example, if it is a finance company dealing in buying and selling shares and securities, then for them, even the income that they earn, that the interest or the dividend that they earn on the shares on which they have invested as a part of their operating activity, that is also included in revenue from operation. And then other incomes. Other income will include any other income from any other activity other than operating activities, like say any kind of rent received, any kind of commission received, and so on. And then we find in the third row, we find the total revenue. That means revenue from operation plus revenue from other income. Not revenue, other income. Okay, revenue from operation and other income. Then in the fourth row, we write the expenses. And what type of expenses? The details of expenses is also given in the format. Okay, the details of expenses is given in format. And in fact, I tell you, we can write, you can use this shortcut CPC EFDO to remember. You can use the form, you can say mnemonic CPC EFDO. What is CPC? C is for cost of material consumed. Cost of material consumed means this is especially for manufacturing companies. If a company is manufacturing anything, then the cost of manufacturing, that the cost of material used in manufacturing that particular product is written here. So if a company is not engaged in manufacturing, then this number A has to be skipped or nil has to be written here. Okay, in the amount column, you will write nil. But for manufacturing companies, the cost of materials that have been consumed, including anything for production, anything like packing materials also that have been used, or anything that is used, that is subsumed in the process of production, will be a part of cost of material consumed. Then we have purchases of stock in trade, that is P, CPC, no? So P, purchases of stock in trade. So purchases of stock in trade will include anything that are purchased and sold. This applies for trading companies who buy and sell. They don't manufacture. So the cost of buying that stock in trade will come here. So here I want to tell you something. If a company is buying something and then it is in a semi-finished stage and then it is doing some more processing and then selling it, then such thing will go in cost of material consumed. If there is any processing before selling, that will be a part of cost of material consumed. Rest, it is anything purchased and directly sold is called purchases of stock in trade, that will be shown here. Then the third is CPC. No, third C is for changes in inventories of finished goods, work in progress, and stock in trade. So if we are making any changes, that means this is nothing but the difference between opening balance and closing balance of finished goods, work in progress, stock in trade. So all the three things you have to show. So I hope you understand what is finished goods, what is work in progress, and what is stock in trade. If you have any doubts, you can ask me later on. Then the third thing is CPC EFDO. No? So E, employee benefits expense. This is the fourth item. So any expenditure by the company on its employees is written here. So employee benefit expenses like But suppose we are giving canteen facility, any kind of refreshment facility. Suppose we have given ESOP facility. What is ESOP? Employee stock option plan. That means employees are given the option to purchase shares of their companies in which they are working on a future date at a specified price, and it is optional for them. So, and similarly, there is employee stock purchase plan. That means employees can purchase stock at stock means the shares, the equity shares at discounted price. Common stock, that is equity shares at discounted price. So for the company, it is a cost. If a company can sell a share to outsiders at 150, but it is giving to its employees at 110, then that 40 rupees is an expense for the company. So all those things will come under employee benefit expense. Then finance cost. Under finance cost, we will have any kind of financial expenses. That means suppose the company is giving dividend to its shareholders or any kind of interest to its debentures, interest on bank loan, all those will come under finance cost. Okay, even any amount spent for getting that loan is also a part of finance cost. Next is depreciation and amortization expense. You know about depreciation. Any depreciation is related to tangible fixed assets, and amortization is related to intangible assets, okay, like goodwill, plant and machinery, and so on. And finally, the last expense is other expense. In other expense, everything that you used to write in the debit side of profit and loss account, like rent, insurance, advertisement, all these items will come on in the other expenses. What cannot be included in C, P, C, E, F, D, okay, will come in O, that is other expense. Okay, so I hope you understood the mnemonic CPC, EF, DO. Next, we get the total expense. So we have already got the total revenue in row 3, and in row 5 and in the row 4 we get the total of the expenses. Then we write the profit. Profit means expenses minus revenues minus this total revenue minus total expenses. So in column 5 you will deduct 4 from 3 and you will get the profit, and this profit is before the adjustment of exceptional and extraordinary items. So in column 6, in row 6 you will write the exceptional items. That means the items which are exceptional in nature, which generally do not happen but might have happened, and which has resulted in some change in the profit or loss of business. The size, the nature, the incidence of the item is such that it is having an impact on the profit or loss. For example, if we sell fixed assets, that is not our normal activity, but we have sold fixed asset and we got a good deal of profit on that, or we have a loss on that, then that profit or loss should be shown in the exceptional items. Okay, then after deducting exceptional item, we get the profit or loss before extraordinary item. Then in the next row we deduct the extraordinary item. I'll directly give an example of extraordinary item. Suppose there is a loss from fire, from flood or earthquake, which is uninsured. Such type of items we write here. Then after deducting extraordinary items, we get the profit, the final profit on which we are going to pay tax. So profit before tax is calculated by deducting row 8 from row 7. Then we pay the tax, we make provision for the tax. So tax is again of two tax, current tax and deferred tax. Current tax means tax paid or payable for the current year based on the rates of tax. And deferred tax is the difference between tax based on accounting income and taxable income. Dear students, because you are in higher secondary level, you are at this level, I feel that it's not necessary for you to learn about this in details. However, if you want, you can call me or you can browse the net and get about it. But in BCom level, you'll be learning about this in details. At your level, not required that much, so I'm not discussing it in details. So after calculating the tax expense, we deduct it from profit. Okay, later on, we'll deduct it later on. Then we find out the profit or loss from continuing operations. Yes, that is 9 minus 10. From the profit before tax, we deduct the tax. Then if there are any discontinuing operations, that means if there is for any reason the company has discontinued its operations, then any profit or loss from such discontinuing operations is shown in column 12, and in column 13, if there is any tax expense on such profit from discontinuing operation, we show it, and then we deduct 13 from 12 to get the profit or loss from discontinuing operations. Okay. And finally, we add the profit of the current period with the profit or loss of the discontinuing operations, and we get column 15, that is profit or loss for the period, combined profit of continuing and discontinuing operations. Then in column 16, we calculate the earnings per share. So earnings per share, Companies Act has said that you show it as basic earnings per share and diluted earnings per share. Basic earnings per share means your total profit, whatever you get in the statement of profit and loss, from there you deduct the dividend that you will pay to the preference shareholders. And after deducting what you get, that is the profit which is due to the equity shareholders. So from that profit, when you divide by the number of equity shares outstanding, that means equity shares issued to public, that is called basic earnings per share. Okay. And diluted earnings per share means the profit, that means profit minus preference dividend, which is available for equity shareholders, divided by number of diluted shares. Diluted shares means some companies sometimes they buy back their shares. So those shares are not outstanding. So those shares have to be deducted because on them the company does not have to pay dividend. So if we divide the profit by the number of diluted shares, then that is called diluted earnings per share. So a description of what is basic earnings per share and diluted earnings per share is given as an explanation. So here we come to the end of the statement of profit and loss, and the explanation that I've given, I have also prepared notes for that. And you see, this is after the format of profit and loss. Everything I have explained for your convenience. And last, I would like to say that there is a new development in the format of profit and loss statement. And that is, the new development is that the MCA means Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, what they did, they have made some changes. They have made some changes on the statement of profit and loss, because they have tried to converge our accounting standards with the International Financial Reporting Standards, that is IFRS. And so they have, you might be knowing that Ministry of Corporate Affairs, they have introduced IND AS. Okay, we have accounting standards issued by Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. You have learned under GAP. GAP tumaloko khikwa hoise first year. So IND AS is already, we have accounting standard. Accounting standard ase under Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. Aru notun ke IND AS issue korise Ministry of Corporate Affairs, MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Ketia? 2016. Aru ei IND AS to sabor karne compulsory no hoy. It is not compulsory for all. So there is an amendment made to the Schedule 3 of Companies Act, and according to that, the companies that will follow the Schedule 3 are divided into two parts, Division 1 and Division 2. And Division 1 is applicable to companies who will follow the accounting standards, the accounting standards of ICAI in preparation of financial statements. And Division 2 is applicable to companies which will follow the IND AS. Who will follow IND AS? For that also explanation is given. So that you don't need to know now. Just try to understand that Division 2, they will follow IND AS, and their statement of profit and loss will be a bit different from the one that you have learned now. So that you will learn later on. So thank you. Have a nice day. In my next class, next Saturday, I'll give you some practicals on statement of profit and loss. For doing that, you will have to understand what has been taught to you today. You'll have to remember the format. So just remember total revenues minus total expenses, and you see total revenues minus total expenses, and then exceptional items and extraordinary items are deducted to get profit before tax. From profit, we deduct the tax, it is current tax and deferred tax. Any kind of loss from continuing and discontinuing operations, both are taken. And then finally, we calculate the earnings per share. So especially the beginning part is most important, okay? Up to the calculation of profit before exceptional and extraordinary items, That is most important. So thank you so much, dear students. Have a nice day again.